when I first moved to Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, as most of my life has lived in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. One thing that came to my mind is the amount of political, um, it's so heavy in Victoria, and it is something that I ask myself this question, right? Whether is it because of the people? Is it because of the nature nurture? Is it the schooling? Why is it different? Because well, the first city was established was Sydney. Victoria used to be New South. Well, the first state was established in New South Wales, along with Queensland. All right. Now, when obviously the first city was established by Sydney, and those who doesn't know about Australia history, the first wave was the convicts. The second wave, I believe, is the women convicts, or I don't know how the women came in. So they get impregnate, impregnate by the impregnated. Oh gosh, well, what's wrong with my bloody pronunciation? But you guys understand what I'm saying. Um, by the locals in the UK. Now, I don't know if it's a false or what's the story behind. And when they came to the country, they gave birth. Now, many has died due to lack of hygiene and sterilized, which later on the indigenous taught them how to deliver a baby by squatting. Now, the story is that how can a first wave, like the first wave is usually the convicts who went to majority of them went to New South Wales. So therefore you can see the rust, the toughness, the roughness still exists in today's culture in Sydney, but comparison to Victoria. I'm only speaking on Melbourne CBD. It's a very, very different, very, very soft. It's all about political, right? And now I never understood why, but also the educated people who mainly go to the Victoria and now the state has become, and regardless of the rival or things like that. Now I'm currently reading uh, Yasmin Abdul. Um, she's a very, very controversial lady last year, 2 years ago. And I just picked the book and just to see what's her life. And because a individual like her as a migrant who came from another country usually tend to be a lot more conservative or not very, very left wing or things like that. However, based on her story and telling her family situation coming from a very, very prestigious family bloodline, and as well of education that mother and father that they have, and how it's like pretty much what I'm trying to say is try to deliver hypergamy comparison and deliver her and the brother, to fight for justice and things like that, where his parents just did the same thing back in their country for university system. Now, what is the difference between an educated migrant like what I just mentioned, who fight for inequality and things like that, in comparison those who are refugees status? Like, there's a huge contrast. I have a friend who was staying in refugee camps named Mayan. He was in a couple of my videos in the past 2 3 years, and he sponsored entire family members to come to Australia, but he was never left wing or activist. But he did study with the same course as me, community service work, but he wasn't all out. He believes in more of the conservative line. Try to comparison with them two, with her, there is a huge, huge thing. And it makes me question and understand, now I understand why people move to Victoria who are people, are like-minded people who has, wanting to go against, so educated people wanting to go against the party and things like that, because there's a city for that. It's just completely different. So that's how a jigsaw puzzle. I am still figuring out. That's one part. Why the state. There's a huge difference between Melbourne and Sydney, just regard to political side. Um, it just shows that there are very, very educated people who are wanting to fight for inequality, and now it's generations after generations, and till 200-300 years till now. I'll just say 200 years till now. There's still strong values, and how it progressively till leads to today, which leads to nowadays is a different story. Now there's feminists and snowflakes. There's a lot more in those who are coming from educated or political states in comparison to more conservative states. And there's something got to do with the schooling, something got to do with nature, nurture, and I don't know. But this is what I'm trying to figure out and understand. But at the end of the day, this book, it's all right, telling her struggles on being Islamic background in Queensland, as it's not very strong, that minority group. And I'm not trying to compare, I'm trying to understand. That's all. Not, there's a huge difference between her and my mate Megan. Very different.